Imagine a woman engulfed in sadness due to the loss of her beloved family members. She is burdened by the weight of social pressure and the uncertainty that looms over her life, leaving her sorely disappointed and deeply upset. Seeking solace, she inserts a Beethoven music disc into the tape player, takes a seat at the table, and immerses herself in the enrapturing melodies. As the enchanting music fills the room, she grabs a pen and paper and embarks on a transformative journey. Inspired by the symphony of Beethoven's compositions and the essence of life itself, she creates intricate tales of 6 characters, crafting a series of masterpieces that reflect the profound emotions and echo the struggles and sorrow of those burdened by sadness. In a 2015 poll conducted by the BBC, The Waves by Virginia Woolf was voted as the 16th greatest British novel of all time. The novel The Waves opened with a mesmerizing description of the rising sun, setting the stage for the characters' journeys. We meet Bernard, Susan, Rhoda, Neville, Ginny, and Louis as children, each with their own distinct personality and perspective. As the sun's golden rays touch their young lives, we witness the wonder and innocence of their early years spent attending a day school together. Bernard, an introspective and philosophical character, exhibits a keen sense of observation and an infinity for words. Susan, deeply connected to the sea and nature, finds solace and a sense of belonging in their vastness. Rhoda, sensitive and introspective, wrestles with her place in the world, contemplating her existence amidst the changing tides. Louis, the son of a banker, is insecure yet ambitious. Jenny, known for her physical beauty, embraces her allure, while Neville seeks order and beauty in his pursuits. The second section describes the sun is still rising, but the waves are getting rougher. We witness the characters' journeys through the adolescence as they grapple with the challenges of growing up after being sent to separate boarding schools. Among the boys, each developed distinct literary ambitions, with varying goals and modes of expression. The girl, on the other hand, eagerly anticipates the end of school. Susan, with her love for agricultural life, yearns to return to her father and their farm, symbolizing her longing and desires. Meanwhile, Bernard discovers his passion for writing and embarks on an exploration of language's power to capture the intricacies of human experience. Rhoda, haunted by a sense of alienation, retreats into her own thoughts and battles with her inner demons, seeking an escape from the disruptions to her cherished mental solitude caused by school. Neville, a dreamer and aspiring poet, grapples with his artistic ambitions and the societal expectations placed upon him. Ginny, vibrant and confident, embraces her sensuality and delights in the pressures of the physical world, desiring to commence her true life within society. Lastly, Louis, a charming and enigmatic character, navigates the complexities of his social and romantic relationships. Section 3. The Noon. At the beginning of the third section, the sun has risen and the birds are in full song. As the characters transition into young adulthood, the novel proceeds to its third section titled The Noon. Bernard and Neville attend college together and maintain a close friendship. They both hold admiration for Percival, yet Neville has fallen in love with him. Percival becomes the focal point of Neville's pursuit of beauty and perfection. Bernard, consumed by his obsession with words and language, contemplates the construction of his gregarious nature through his relationships with others. Neville, initially captivated by order and beauty, shares one of his poems with Bernard, resulting in a significant moment for both of them. Neville grapples with his desire for artistic expression, torn between the pursuit of his passions and the expectation imposed by the world around him. In London, Louis works as a mid-level clerk at a shipping firm. During his lunch breaks at a diner, he immerses himself in reading and observes people, aspiring to transform his observations of everyday life into poetry. Susan resides on her farm, communing with the natural rhythm of life. Before dawn, she strolls across the fields, sensing growth all around her, though she begins to relinquish her own active will. Meanwhile, in London, Ginny and Rhoda find themselves at the same party, each having distinctive experiences. Ginny thrives in the social setting, reveling in the beauty of her surroundings and her own personal allure. Conversely, Rhoda, the melancholic one, feels diminished by the presence of others and yearns to vanish. The characters' life intersects and intertwine, weaving a rich tapestry of human connections. Section 4. The Afternoon. The fourth section begins by describing the sun at its brightest. We observe the characters in their middle age, reflecting on the paths they have taken and the choices they have made. The setting is a dinner party organized to honor Percival, who is departing for position in the colonial government in India. At the party, the 6 characters are reunited. Initially, there is a sense of tension and uneasiness among the group, with their differences being prominently noticed. However, when Percival arrives, these tensions ease and the group begins to unite. For a brief moment, true communion is achieved, and the voices of Bernard, Susan, Rhoda, Neville, Ginny, and Louis blend together, blurring the boundaries between their individual experiences. Unfortunately, this moment concludes all too quickly, and the group disintegrates back into their separate selves. Section 5. The Evening. The beginning of the 5th section describes the sun at its full height and the waves breaking strongly onto the shore. It is a prelude to the first real tragedy of the story, the death of Percival. This part delves into the characters' contemplations on aging and mortality. The once vibrant energy of youth begins to dwindle, and the characters are confronted with their own mortality. This section takes place shortly after the dinner party, where the friends have received the news of Percival's death in India. Neville is devastated by this revelation, overwhelmed by the presence of death and the fragility of life. They reflect upon the dreams and aspirations they held in their youth, the paths they chose, and the way of time upon their lives. The novel encourages us to ponder the fleeting nature of life and the permanence of our existence. Bernard finds himself torn between joy and sorrow as he experiences the birth of his child while grieving the loss of his friend. Seeking solace, Bernard visits a museum to contemplate paintings, finding a certain comfort even as he acknowledges that the memories of Percival will inevitably fade. Similarly, Rhoda discovers solace in music as she attends an opera shortly after learning of Percival's demise, finding the strength to carry on for a while longer. The sixth section begins with the sun starting to go down and the waves moving out, crashing against rocks and flowing onto caves. The characters have reached full maturity. Louis, the son of a banker and a character plagued by insecurity, is advancing in his firm and leads a double life. While he maintains a respectable image as a businessman, he is drawn to the darker aspects of life and spends his time wandering through impoverished neighborhoods. Louis and Rhoda, the dreamy character, have become lovers. Susan has embraced motherhood, feeling both deeply fulfilled and stifled by the life she has chosen. On one hand, she is fully immersed in the natural cycle of life, but on the other hand, her own individual existence has become subordinate to the lives of her children and the ongoing operations of the farm. Ginny continues to pursue a purely physical existence, engaging in relationships but never settling down, finding contentment in her own being. Neville also moves from one lover to another, driven by his desire to maintain the intense passion of initial desire, as it served as the wellspring of his creativity. The seventh section starts with the sun lower in the sky and the waves falling back. This part explores midlife as the characters begin to experience the effects of aging. Bernard, the lover of language, has journeyed to Rome, where he contemplates the ruins and grapples with his own sense of failure. Doubts arise regarding both his abilities and the ability of his stories to accurately capture reality. Susan, sinking deeper into a rural and domestic life, wrestles with regrets over what she has lost while finding a measure of contentment in what she has gained. Ginny encounters a moment of dread as she realizes her own aging and the fading of her beauty. However, she ultimately accepts the inevitable passage of time and resolves to make the most of her remaining years. Neville is on the path to becoming a successful writer. Though he is mellowing slightly, his desire continues to shift from one lover to another. Louis ascends higher within his firm but still retreats to his attic room to writer. Literature appears to him as an idealized realm, even as his gaze is continuously drawn to the street. Rhoda, having separated from Louis, embarks on a journey to Spain. There, she confronts the face of death in the vast sea viewed from cliffs. The eighth section describes the sun sinking and birds of prey, such as an owl, replace the chirping birds from earlier descriptions. The friends gather once again for dinner, but this time, the meeting is overshadowed by death, both due to their advancing age and the absence of Percival. While there is an initial tension among the friends, similar to their previous gathering, this tension dissipates as they begin to share their shared experiences. The characters have lived long enough to recognize this meeting as one such shared experience, leading to a moment of silent communion that is elegiac rather than triumphant. As the others head into the park, Rhoda and Louis share a quiet moment together, which inevitably comes to an end. The ninth section, the sun has goes down and the day finishes. Final part is narrated entirely from Bernard's perspective. Over dinner, Bernard engages in conversation with a casual acquaintance and attempts to provide a summing up of his life. He still harbors doubts about the ability of language to accurately represent reality. Instead of making sweeping statements, Bernard strives to convey the texture of his life. He discusses the fates of the other characters, including the tragic news of Rhoda's suicide. One of the most profound moments Bernard describes is when he himself seems to transcend language and directly perceive reality. However, in the end, Bernard views his life as an ongoing struggle to use language in defiance of death. He recognizes how the others have also been part of this same struggle in their individual ways. Bernard resolves to continue fighting until the very end. Published in 1931, The Waves by Virginia Woolf is a modernist masterpiece that pushes the boundaries of narrative structure and explores the depths of human consciousness. Through a unique and poetic prose style, Woolf paints a vivid portrait of Bernard, Susan, Rhoda, Neville, Ginny, and Louis, taking us on a journey through their joy, sorrows, and ever-changing rhythm of their lives. Woolf's use of Beethoven's composition as an accompaniment to a writing process is an intriguing detail. It suggests that she found inspiration and solace in the music while delving into the complexities of her characters and their interconnected stories. Beethoven's music, renowned for its emotional depths and complexities, likely resonated with Woolf's exploration of the human experience. For the next episode of Bedtime Stories, which stories or literary works would you like to listen to? The comment section is open for your suggestions. Good night.